All right, so we're going to take a look at area and perimeter. Mostly two shapes. So area of a triangle is area of a half times the base times the height. Area of a rectangle, which is base times height. All right, the real big important thing to remember is base and height must be perpendicular to each other. What that means is if this is the base, the height must be at 90 degrees. All right, this is very, very, very important. So sometimes in the shape, you have to turn it around to kind of see which part is horizontal and which one is vertical. All right, so let's go ahead and do, I'll do example 2 and 4, okay? So find the area and perimeter of the triangle. These are the vertices. So G is -7, so you remember you go X, -7, and then Y, -8. And then you're going to put a point right there and label that G. H is -3, -2, so you're going to go X first, -3, then -2 on the Y direction, and you're going to label that H. I is -6, -2, so you're going to go X -6, Y -2, and you're going to label that I. All right, so remember, to find the area of any triangle, okay, it is going to be area is equal to 1/2 times the base times the height. All right, now remember, the base and the height, all right, must be perpendicular to each other, okay? So must be perpendicular to each other, or we can say form a 90-degree angle, okay? So this has to happen in order for it to be the base and the height. Now again, the base and the height can be anywhere on the triangle. Like if you use this as the base, the height must make a 90-degree angle with the height. So the key is to find the base that or height that's already kind of either horizontal or vertical. So if I look right here, if I want to call this the base right here, okay, if this is my base, my height has to be vertical, which means I have to go, if I'm going left and right, I have to go up and down. So instead of following this like here, it has to go straight like this. And the reason being is this: when you go to the doctor's office, okay, you don't slant when you're taking your height. When he's measuring your height, you stand completely straight up, perpendicular, to the ground. You don't lean like this. Okay, he's measuring your height, you're not leaning like that. All right, so make sure that you're going perpendicular to the base. So if this is the base, then the height has to be perpendicular, which means makes 90 degrees. So it's not following that slanted line, but it's following 90 degrees. And you're going to stop when you get to the top of the triangle, which is right here. Okay, so this is the height. This right here is the height. So if my area is 1/2 times the base, so we just call this the base. How many boxes is this? 1, 2, 3. So the base is 3. And my height, remember my height has to be 90 degrees. So I can't follow this slanted line, and I can't follow this slanted line. I have to make a vertical line. All right, so my height is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so that's going to be the key thing right here. Base and height must be perpendicular to each other. It has to form a 90-degree angle. All right, go ahead and put that in the calculator. So 1/2 of 6 is 3 times 3, which is 9. So my area is 9. All right. I'm now going to find the area of a, what is this? A parallelogram. And then I'll come back and find perimeter in just a little bit. So here are my points again. So T is -1, -5. So -1x, -5y. This is point T. Then U is -1, 0. So -1x, and then don't move in the y direction. That is point U. -4 in the x, and then +2 in the y. That's going to be point V. Then -4 in the x and -3 in the y. That is going to be point W. Do the best that you can to connect these as best as you can. So those are kind of straight, and this is like that. All right, so the area of a parallelogram is going to be base times height. Now remember, base and height, they have to meet at what? 90 degrees. So you kind of have to fool around with the shape to see what you can call your base and what you can call your height. So if I decide to call this slanted line my base, my height has to be 90 degrees to that. And there's no way I can kind of tell like by drawing a line like this because I can't count diagonally. So instead of that, and I wish I could turn my computer around, but I can't. This, if I count this as the base, right? So if I do this as my base, then my height just needs to go to the top of the shape, straight 90 degrees from that. So right here, I can do it here, or I can do it from here to here. So let me do it inside of the shape so that you can see clearly. But sometimes it's outside, so actually let me do it outside. All right, so again, this is the base. I'm just going to continue the base along. And then you can see I'm making a vertical line that meets at 90 degrees. And that's the key thing. When you're choosing your base and height, it must be perpendicular to each other. So just because I've extended the base here doesn't mean that I count this as part of the base, because the base is still part of the shape. So this base is only from here to here. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so the base is 5. So area is equal to 5 times, and then the height, okay, is the perpendicular distance to the base, which is going to be 1, 2, 3. All right, so sometimes remember that sometimes the base and the height, they're outside the shape, sometimes they're inside the shape. You just kind of look for when they are perpendicular. All right, so that's how you find area. All right, so please find the area of these two. All right, let's practice.